I want you to think about your exercise routine and mark down how many of those exercises are unilateral and how many are bilateral based exercises. Now, whether you're an adult training for health and fitness or a team sport athlete training for peak performance, unilateral strength-based exercises are going to be king. And in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly why most of the exercises in your workout chart should be unilateral instead of bilateral. Hi guys, Austin Stout here from Stout Sport Performance. In today's video, I'm going to try to convince you why you should be performing more unilateral-based strength exercises within your training program. Now, right from the start, we don't want to minimize the positive effects that we might get from a bilateral-based exercise. At Stout Sport Performance, we still do a lot of pull-ups, we do a lot of chin-ups, we do push-ups, we do hex bar deadlifts, we might even throw in some bench press on occasion. So we see value in bilateral exercise, but in general, for most people and most athletes, we're going to get more benefit, more functional transfer to life and sport by performing unilateral-based exercises. And so the first reason that this is just because of the actions that we tend to take throughout life and sport. So take a moment, think about the movements that you've gone through today. Think about the last time you did a recreational sporting activity like going for a run, or if you're an athlete, think about your last competition. And what you'll realize is most of the actions and positions that you took throughout those activities were done on one leg. And that's in essence the reason that we want to make sure we're including unilateral-based exercises within our training program. We do a lot of actions independent of the other limb. We grab things with one arm, we push things with one arm, we pull with one arm, we run with one leg on the ground while the other leg performs a different action. And so there's more functional transfer. That's the most basic reason that you got to start thinking about unilateral training instead of bilateral training, but it doesn't stop there. The second thing is going to be the differences in strength that we might have between our legs. So for example, if we perform a heavy barbell back squat, and you've been doing this for a long period of time, if we then ask you, and try this on your own, try to perform a split squat with some lighter weight and see if there's a difference in feeling from side to side. Chances are there's going to be. Chances are, if we perform this split squat, this unilateral exercise, with our left leg, and then we perform the same thing on our right leg, we might notice that our right leg is a lot less coordinated. The motion pattern feels a lot less strong than it is on the left side. And what we've discovered is there's a coordination deficit or a strength deficit on that right side of our body. We didn't see that or notice that while we were performing this bilateral exercise. And so that's a great reason to be including some single limb and some unilateral based training, because not only do we get to address that underlying difference and that underlying deficit that we have in strength and coordination, but we also get to see that it exists. If we only ever perform bilateral based exercises, we might never notice that that exists, and that can lead to dysfunction, potential pain and injury down the line. So we get to discover the problem and we get to work on it by continuing to perform these unilateral training exercises. Now the third reason is perhaps the most interesting. And if you're somebody who's looking to maximize the strength gains that you're making within the gym, it's going to be particularly interesting to you. Because we might think if we perform a bilateral squat, we're going to be able to move more physical weight, right? The number on the bar is going to be larger than a split squat that we might only be able to perform with a weight that we're holding in our chest. However, there's a phenomenon known as the bilateral deficit. And essentially what this means is the summation of forces that we can produce while we train one leg at a time is going to be greater than the total force generating capacity if we train and contract both legs at the same time. So to make this simple and a little bit more visual, if we get the percentage loads right for the exercise we're performing, what this means is we'll be able to produce more force if we add up the force we've generated from performing, for example, a split squat on the left leg and also on the right leg than we would if, for example, we performed a barbell back squat. That we're able to produce more forces when we work with those legs individually, when we summate and add those forces together, than we did by just simply doing the bilateral exercise on its own. Now, we don't, the scope of why that's occurring is a little bit beyond the target of this video, but there's a lot of interesting research on why that bilateral deficit occurs. It could be a little bit tied into the fact that we don't do a lot of motions on two legs, and therefore we're not able to generate as much force. It could be a protective mechanism because we're able to generate force from that position that our body intentionally takes us away from being able to generate so much force while we contract both legs. But the point is, we can generate more total force with unilateral based exercises if we add up the force we can generate from both legs than we would if we perform an exercise, for example, in that barbell back squat that's bilateral based. Now, the last reason that you're going to be performing unilateral based strength exercises is going to be for the benefit in coordination and the stabilizing muscles that tend to get ignored when we only think about these big primary lifts, squatting, bench pressing, for example. So if you're an athlete or you're somebody that just likes to go recreational, run and move, one of the things that's going to be critical to your performance is your ability to balance and stabilize on one leg. And if you're unable to do that, it doesn't really matter how much force you can generate or how strong you are, because you're not able to direct and control that forces in different ways. And so when we're doing our strength training, it's important to make sure that we're also working on the stabilizing muscles that are going to allow us to better control the force and strength that we're building within a training setting. And performing different exercises in the gym are going to allow us to do that if they're unilateral based. So for example, we could perform a straight leg, single leg deadlift. And as we perform this exercise, if you've never done it before, you're going to notice immediately that your glutes are going to be fired up, your hamstrings, which of course are going to be a prime mover in this exercise, they're still going to get stronger through doing this movement, but you're also going to get a lot of input here at the ankle, a lot of proprioceptive input that you're going to need to be a functional athlete or be able to move well in the recreational sporting activities that you're doing if you're an average 9-to-5 office worker. So those are the 4 reasons. I hope you can think about those and conceptualize those and start incorporating more unilateral training within your weekly training program. More split squats, more single leg squats, more single arm pulls and pushes, and more straight leg, single leg deadlifts. The advantages are clear. There's more of a functional transfer to the activities of your daily life and your sporting activities. We're going to be able to discover strength deficits and coordination deficits and continue to work on them to minimize their impact. We're going to get the advantage of the bilateral deficit, meaning we're able to generate more force and hence get stronger by working on one leg as opposed to training both legs at the same time. And we're also going to improve the stabilizing abilities within our single leg and single arm movements, training the stabilizers that allow us to better control the strength that we're developing within the gym. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a comment. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to do videos on the topics that you guys are interested in. So we're gonna see you next time at Stout Sport Performance. Thanks for watching.